Take a look behind the curtain with a real whistleblower and American patriot. Prepare to embrace the uncomfortable truth because this program has no time for comforting lies. Here is civil liberties enthusiast, Second Amendment defender, and recovering FBI agent Kyle Seraphin.
Well, hello, my friends, and welcome to the Kyle Seraphin Show. Today is Thursday. It is February the 5th. I'm going to make an argument to you today, and I'm going to use the words of the current president. The argument is somehow this administration has fallen off from the promises, and there is nothing that is more indicative of this failure than what's happening right now in Minnesota. A lot of big promises. Agenda 47. This was Donald Trump's platform. You can still find it at donaldjtrump.com/platform if you'd like to read it yourself. And I will link that in today's show notes. He made a bunch of claims. And it seems like more and more these things are getting rolled back or getting gutted entirely. And they're happening from people inside of his own administration. And they're actually happening by the man himself. If people make you a promise and they don't keep it, I think you should evaluate them based on those promises. There's no such thing as, oh, well, there's some different situations on the ground. It's like you made a promise, you didn't deliver it. Just own it. Just say, I can't do what I said I would do. And the biggest single one that I continue to see is this movement from mass deportation to targeted operations. We went from everybody must go to targeted drawdown. We're going to try to find a few people. We went from millions of people need to leave this country because they're here illegally to maybe tens of thousands of people. And if we're lucky, we'll get it into the six figures. That's an utter failure. It's a priority one failure. It's a priority two failure. It's not winning the way that people thought they were going to win. And that really chaps my ass. I'm just going to tell you because I actually did want that. And I actually do think it's feasible. It won't be nice. It won't be something that anybody will give you a high five at the end. They may think that you're the worst person ever. That's kind of what happens when you walk in and you take the reins. You have to turn your back on the audience. You have to face the orchestra, and then you have to make sure that the music plays. And if there are people in the back that are heckling and booing, so be it. Unfortunately, we have an administration that's more interested in PR and positive spin and headlines that are favorable and make them feel good. And I'll show you some evidence of that. All of those things do not make you a strong or great leader. And that's disappointing. More disappointing to those of us that were looking for a realistic, you're not going to get all 20 of the things you promised, but I would like a couple of them. I'd like you to get the ones that are in the most important, the top few ranks. And so I'll show you what I think the failure there is. And that happens on the Second Amendment. It's happening on deportations and immigration. C- at best. And I know you're not in a good spot when you take people that are meant to be doing reform and that are supposed to come out and make generational changes to the danger that is our federal government, and you move them back into a propaganda spot instead, which is being covered by MS Now. So we've got a whole survey of things I want to talk about, some stuff over at CNN, some stuff. What is this article? This N. Hold on one second here. Oh, that's the Constitution. We're going to go over the Bill of Rights and why I think the 9th and the 10th Amendment continue to be the least thought about, and they're very important. Interestingly enough, Democrats are starting to highlight them. We've got a couple stories from CBS, one from NPR, MS Now, some funny little procedural pieces talking about ICE and what kind of propaganda goes on the left side of it. So we'll get all of that stuff as well. And we're going to get all that right after we talk about our friends over at Patriot Protect, who sponsored this episode. Patriot-protect.com/KYLE, Patriot-protect.com/Kyle. You'll get yourself 15% off an annual subscription. Scammers and criminals have raised the stakes. They did it in 2025. They are continuing to do it now. Actually, a really weird story about AI we're going to be covering in a minute. But AI is sort of the nuclear weapon system when it comes to scams, when it involves things like cloning voices or faking text messages that emulate friends or family's style. They can impersonate you with an email. I actually just got a notification yesterday, of all things, and we may have a conversation with Skip Holt about this in the near future. I got an email letting me know that my data had been breached and shared with third parties that were unauthorized. And this is my official stuff over on Substack, where we actually publish things. All of these things can be out there and available to the public. It's going to be your name, your address, your phone number, your family members, your age, your online behavior. Sometimes it's actually your credit card and all that kind of stuff. They always tell you that they didn't get access to the credit cards, but you never know until something like may or may not pop up on the credit card. If you want to make yourself a less favorable target to these scumbags that are out there trying to steal from you, and that's what they are. They're scumbags. This is how they operate. They're trying to take things that they didn't earn. The easiest way is to not just be someone that they can keep track of. It's kind of like hiding your jewelry or putting your valuables underneath the seat or making sure that your purse is in the trunk and not somewhere that people can see through an open window. If you guys want to do that, you can do things like join up with Patriot Protect. Again, it's patriot-protect.com/KYLE. You'll get less junk calls almost always. That's the first thing that people notice. You'll have a smaller profile on the internet for scammers and cyber criminals and maybe even federal agents who are just sitting out there that don't have all the databases available. Check them out. There's a link in the show description. The annual subscription is 15% less with my name, and it's relatively inexpensive. It's like less than $10 a month to be able to kind of protect yourself from potentially thousands, tens of thousands, or hundreds of thousands of dollars in scams. So that's what I will recommend. We use it here at the house. Me and my wife both do, and we'll recommend it to you. All right, let's dive into today's program starting now. We're going to talk about it in the man's own words. I want to discuss the agenda, and I also want to discuss that the solution is not meant to be the executive. So we're living in a strange time. I had a conversation just a few minutes ago. Somebody that you guys probably would not be excited about me talking to, but doesn't matter. Somebody who disagrees with us on a lot of things, but can honestly say there is nobody that is alive today that is absolutely responsible for the problems, but the continuation of not addressing where the actual issues lay. And this is where they lay. This is the institution that seated its authorities and have acted like the president is supposed to be a king, and he is not. The president's job is not to go out and set policy and then execute policy. It is meant to be funneled up from the people in the House. It is meant to be approved by the majority in the states, which would be the Senate, so that you actually have some sort of consensus and some sort of filter. There's supposed to be a check and a balance on the populist movement. Can we just get people to do the jobs that they were elected to do? And the answer is basically no. There's a very interesting situation that is developing regarding the Second Amendment. And we've had this conversation. There's people in the gun rights movement now that are worried about it. There's a new ATF director that's being proposed for being confirmed. And here's what's really wacky. And this is why I know that we have no principles on either side. There are things that the federal government absolutely is not allowed to talk about, to touch, to get involved in. Things like the establishment of religion, right? We can go to the Bill of Rights, which we will actually right now. That's what I'm going to do right now. Let's go to the Bill of Rights. Here we have it, okay? U.S. Bill of Rights, it's on the screen. Number 1, Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion, prohibiting the free exercise thereof, abridging the freedom of speech. And that means all speech, all of it. It doesn't matter if it's incitement or anything else. Those things can be handled at the locality level. And that's what was meant to be done. They're not supposed to restrict the freedom of the press, the right of the people to peaceably assemble, petition the government for a redress of grievances. It says, shall make no law. And then or. That's any of those things fits into that category. These are plain spoken, simple language that anybody should be able. If I said, hey, you can do not this, you'd be like, well, what about if I want to do this? I just said, no, you can't do this, so don't. That doesn't mean that no one can make those laws. It just means that it cannot be done at the federal level. For some reason, we've just decided to waffle on all of these things. The Second Amendment is the same deal. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It's really, really simple language. Preparatory, here's the reason why we believe this is necessary, and then boom, here's what must happen. So why do we have an ATF at all? Why are firearms included in the mandate of this organization? Because explosives are in there as well. And theoretically, explosives are also arms. They're also tools. People use things like dynamite and various different types of explosives for all kinds of commercial processes, and they used to use them. The famous story that I get is that my wife's, was she a great aunt? I'm trying to think. Yeah, great aunt. my mother-in-law's, yeah, I don't know what it is. My mother-in-law's aunt, I think. Anyway, she talked about how they actually dynamited her pool out of bedrock in Texas, in the middle of Austin. I mean, it's at the center of Austin now. It used to be kind of on the fringe and the outskirts. They had a couple of acres, and they put down dynamite into holes, and they covered it all up with a bunch of chain link fences so no big pieces went rocketing through everybody's home. And then they blew it up because they needed to get down into bedrock, and explosives have value when you're trying to do these kind of things. Why on earth are they able to infringe? Now, that doesn't mean that you're not supposed to be able to make local rules, right? You can't bring your guns to town. So this city says you cannot bring guns in, and they're going to enforce it at their level. Same situation. It can be done at the state level. You can have ridiculous California laws. You can have the silly woman who is the governor of New York say things that are completely illogical. And if you are dumb enough to elect this person and you want that person to announce, by the way, she's in the executive, so this should actually be coming from their legislative branch as well. But if you want to have this person represent you and have the stupidest gun laws I can think of by someone who doesn't even understand what the technology that she's discussing, that's your right as a state, not at the federal level. Here's Kathy Hochul, just because this is funny, and let's just start off with a smile. She's really worried about semi-automatic machines. Unclear what this is or what this rate of fire indicates or who is shooting this rate of fire, but she wants to outlaw them. You can't just have them, she says. You can do that at the state level.
You will no longer sell handguns that can be converted into semi-automatic machines able to fire 1,200 rounds a minute. Not here, not in New York.
Hey, pal. You just blowing from Stupid Town?
Oh, that was a little SpongeBob piece at the end. How nice is that? There are, hold on, I'll just open up the screen here real quick. There are semi-automatic options behind me. These are semi-automatic machines. One of them is a revolver. I don't know if it's actually technically a semi-automatic, but every time I pull the trigger, it does what it's supposed to do. And then on the other side, little Glock handgun over here, Glock 43X with my shield arm stuff on it. You guys can check them out too if you've never bought any of their accessories. I stand behind them. I use them every day. That one's part of my display. The other one is on my everyday carry. It's a little bit lower visibility. Semi-automatic machines. Semi-automatic means you pull the trigger and then the gun goes boom. And then you pull the trigger and the gun goes boom. And it doesn't go pss because you're not carrying a suppressor, because they don't want you to have a suppressor, and carrying it on a handgun is kind of impractical, right? At least for your concealed carry. 1,200 rounds a minute? That's a really fast finger movement. That's faster than Jerry Michalak. That's not a thing. But she can make up whatever crazy rules she wants at the state level. And if they want to pass them and they want to elect idiots to go do it, then fine. Why can we not just look and understand that there is a federal system that is meant to say, hold on, let's go down to these amendments that actually matter. Here it is. Amendment number 9, the one that nobody can ever cite. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. No, I didn't get it all the way on the screen there. It's nice on my screen. There you go. Okay. There's the 9th. And how about the 10th, which is so powerful? The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. The things that are not addressed inside that document are not meant to be the purview of the federal government. They are meant to remain with the states. There are things that are meant to be the purview of the federal government, it turns out. There are things that are supposed to be done by the federal government, and we are actually meant to see those things. So it would be nice if these people understood what it was that they swore an oath to, and it frustrates the ever-living hell out of it. Like, I don't understand. There's a CNN article right now talking about Carolyn Leavitt trying to downplay some of the things that Donald Trump said. Yeah, the headline says, Trump obliterates his aide's efforts to downplay his comments again. I don't know if you guys have seen this happen, but this is like a Trump thing. He says something that's just not artful and might not be what he meant. And then you've got people inside of his administration like, well, that's not really what he meant. By the way, they used to do this with Joe Biden all the time. Joe Biden didn't come back and go, yeah, no, that's exactly what I meant. Because I don't think Joe Biden even knew what he said the first time. But in this case, you've got analysis here. It says at this point, whenever an aide or advisor to Donald Trump offers to translate something that the president has said, you should probably assume that they had no idea what they're talking about. That's kind of harsh, but probably true. Trump on Tuesday laid waste to the White House press secretary, Carolyn Leavitt's effort to pretend he didn't say something as controversial as he did. And what is he talking about? He's floating the idea of nationalizing federal elections, which are meant to be run by the states. And they are not a power that is granted under the federal government. Like, they're not granted the federal government. These are the states' options. So what did he say? He did this on Bongino's show. He said, Republicans say we want to take over, Trump told former Deputy Director Dan Bongino of the FBI in a podcast. We should take over the voting in at least as many as 15 places. Republicans ought to nationalize the voting. It's highly impractical, given the Constitution gives the power to run elections to the states. You guys get why that is a problem. It should be a problem to people who swore the oath, including the president. It's also provocative in that this is how the president who tried to overturn the election based on a volume of face vote, and then they go into their sort of like crazy nonsense. And this is all talking about whether or not the SAVE Act can do what it can do, which is supposed to be make sure, as we talked about yesterday, that you have either a valid passport or a birth certificate, and that you can't just use real ID, and that illegal aliens and people that are not meant to vote in our system are not allowed to vote, because that's kind of important. That assumes that it matters whether or not you have like people legally or illegally voting. And I'm not 100% sure that it matters, to be fair. I'm actually living in the space where I kind of believe that these things are just flipped over by the algorithm in a machine. So the only reason they want more registered voters is so they have more potentially and feasible excuse for how they're going to steal it. I don't even think that I think we live in such a thinly veiled version of a constitutional republic that I think it's almost offensive for us to talk about there being a constitution. It's this vague notion that we give tribute to, but nobody really knows what's in it. Apparently, nobody seems to know what's in it. They just ignore it flat out. So let's go to the things that were promised. And they were promised, and I'm going to show you why we're in a bad spot because of the promises made. Not by me, not by podcasters, not by news hosts, not by anonymous accounts on X or Twitter or on Facebook or people that you like, or even your friends that say things that are agreeable. Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, Agenda 47, it's on the screen. And I'll key in on a few pieces of it in just a second. All right? Let's start with this. Number 1, seal the border and stop the migrant invasion. Migrant might even be too soft of a term, but sure. Okay, that sounds good. Number 2, carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. They didn't just put it on their platform. They spoke about it, and they have immediately, as of the last 3 days, walked away from that piece. Number 1, check. Good job. That's temporary, it turns out, because all it took was changing the executive, which means that people are not going to carry out the duties of their office. We saw that in the last administration. So credit where it's due. Check mark on 1. Number 2, walking away, redefining, and acting like it's happening when it's not. Number 3, end inflation and make America affordable again. You guys tell me. We talked about the K-shaped economy this week already, but there's plenty of studies that show that maybe if you have a ton of money, then everything is fine because this stuff doesn't, hit you as much. But if you are not in a very high income learning, or if you're on a fixed income, you're probably in a bad spot right now. And if you're looking to move and buy another home somewhere, yikes. Double yikes for you. Make America the dominant energy producer. Stop outsourcing. Turn the world into a manufacturing superpower. I don't even know why the executive has that. There's nowhere in the Constitution that should say anything about what they have to do. Large tax cuts. This is the purview of Congress. Who has the power of the purse? Who's supposed to be able to decide taxes in the first place? No taxes on tips. This is like the president pushes the agenda forward. Did they get it done? Sort of. Capped. That sounds absolute. Like, these are simple words. Like, I'm not making them up. No tax on tips. That means that there would be what? No taxes on tips? That's not the case. And then here's where I get really upset. Defend our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and our fundamental freedoms, including the freedom of speech, the freedom of religion, and the right to keep and bear arms. I'll just stop at 7. Those are the big ones for me. Why are we not carrying out the largest deportation operation in American history? Why is that not the case? That's part 1. And the second one is, why on earth are we not defending this thing the way that we were told? Defend the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. Did they not read it? Did they not know what that involved? Like, even explicitly called out the First Amendment, another part of the First Amendment, and the Second Amendment in this particular promise on the campaign trail. Let's do number 2 first. Let's do the what I think is a betrayal of what Americans thought they were getting. And by the way, there's still the largest number of people still believe that people who are here illegally should be deported. The crazy thing is, it was carried out in such a way that they let the media narrative get you. Before we even play this little speech here, let me show you this. This is an NPR poll. 2/3 of Americans say ICE has, quote unquote, gone too far in immigration enforcement. That doesn't have anything to do with what the promise was and what needed to be done. Just because people don't feel good about something when you're doing something that is austere doesn't mean you stop. If you were to go and start a punishment for your child, you might not feel good about watching their tears. But at the end of the day, when they turn out to be a decent human being that understands that there are consequences, it's worth it. Watching your child cry because of something you've done, it's awful. Nobody wants that. Nobody's like, well, I'm really enjoying myself right now as I have to discipline my child. I feel great about this. You go, what are the thing you always heard? The thing you hear is, this hurts me more than it hurts you. And yet it must be done. Isn't that it? I know it must be done because he talked about it in June of 2024 when he was running for office.
But this thing allows millions of people. This allows millions of people into our country. Joe Biden's order is pro-invasion, pro-child trafficking, pro-women trafficking, pro-human trafficking, pro-drug dealers. And in all, it's really, they bring death and they bring destruction into our country. It's really pro-illegal immigration. It's great for illegal immigration. On day one, I will seal the border, I will stop the invasion, and we will begin the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. Have no choice. We have no choice. Biden has given us no choice. We've never had massive amounts of drugs pouring into our country. We fought it like hell. We were fighting. And by the way, you'll never solve the problem without the death penalty. When I was in China, I was with President Xi, 1.4 billion people, strong guy, and we got along well until COVID. Then I said, the hell with it, man. It wasn't. What they unleashed on the world was incredible, but
Rambling. Fine. What was that? June 2024, running for office. What did he say? We're going to seal the border and we're going to carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. Those are his words, not mine. It's on the campaign promise. He didn't run away from that. In fact, in April of last year, in his first 100 days in office, he made the same claim, said it was getting done. A lot of hype. I've got two pieces from that camp. It was like a post-campaign rally. The ongoing PR campaign to say how great we're doing. And people were excited about it. Everybody wanted to see it. Here's what it looked like.
Democrats have vowed mass invasion and mass migration. We are delivering mass deportation, and it's happening very fast.
Is it happening very fast? Then he decided to show, I'm going to turn this video down because it's a little bit loud. And there's not really anything on it. They showed this is in Michigan. They showed an ICE hype video. So you've got flashing lights and some drones flying around the edge of a plane, people being deported. You've got press, folks that are taking pictures of folks. This is when they were running everybody down to El Salvador. Okay. They got some cool hip hop type music. Listen. You got the sound of chains. These are really, really bad guys. Okay, good. So you're getting rid of some MS-13 guys. This is the first 100 days rally. And he went on and he hyped it. And he showed it. And he was like, look how good we're doing. We're doing awesome. Everything that you voted for, it's coming down. And nobody was like, oh, I hate that you're doing this. You had people on the left that were crying about it. But people that voted for it, which, by the way, wasn't just people on the MAGA right, and that's why that poll is relevant from NPR. It wasn't just MAGA right people that were saying, hey, let's go. It was people that were independents. Now, you might lose the independents on the messaging campaign, but that doesn't mean you don't stay the course. For you that wanted to know what this NPR article had to say, let me move it to where it needs to be here. On the heels of 2 fatal shootings, those fatal shootings, I blame 100% on the law enforcement officers, more importantly, the management, the administration in Minneapolis. I think it is their fault because they weren't doing crowd control as they should do. And I think it was also the fault of a bunch of people getting whipped up since they decided that they could do things that they are not lawfully allowed to do. And they've been allowed to do it for 5 years. This is the mistaking kindness for weakness situation. Federal officers, federal agents are not the same as your local PD. They don't have the same charter. They don't have the same sort of rules for use of force at the end of the day. They also don't have that continuation of force that's meant to either escalate up a spectrum or down. Oh, well, sucks. 65% of Americans said that ICE and immigration's custom enforcement has gone down too far. And this poll was done by NPR and PBS. So, yeah, I get it. It probably slants left. The percentage of those saying that ICE has gone too far has increased 11 points since the last summer when people were cheering it on in that kind of rally. And it's driven by independents and Democrats. Both groups went up by double digits. You need independents to win these things. If you want to go ahead and hold on to any of the political power you have, you don't just get it with a fractured coalition because America's too fractured to be able to handle anything, by fiat. You need a coalition, and the coalition of people are in the middle. And a lot of them, I think, are bacon cheeseburger nationalist types. I think they're like me. I'm not part of a political team. If you promise things like I'm going to go back to the Constitution, I'm going to make America, quote unquote, great again, AKA make America constitutional again, because that is pretty great when the federal government stays out of my business. Awesome. I'm for it. This is not it. This was Tom Homan, either yesterday or the day before, talking about what they're going to do in Minneapolis.
Given this increase in unprecedented collaboration, and as a result of the need for less law enforcement officers to do this work in a safer environment, I have announced effective immediately we will draw down 700 people effective today. 700 law enforcement personnel.
Uh-oh. We're going to take 700 people out of there? Well, whose idea was this?
Okay, let's drill down into the news today. That big change on immigration, 700 officers leaving Minneapolis. Did that come from you?
Yes, it did. But it didn't come from me because I just wanted to do it. We are waiting for them to release prisoners, give us the murderers that they're holding, and all of the bad people, drug dealers, all of the bad people. We allowed in our country, I say 25 million people with an open border policy for 4 years under Biden and that group, the auto pen group, I call them. We allowed to come into our country people the likes of which no country would accept. And we're getting them out. Yeah. But we've gotten a lot of them out. So crime now in Minnesota, crime now in Minneapolis is down. Crime in all cities is down. And you know why it's down? It's down because of us. It's down in Chicago by 25%, despite the fact that we are always dealing with these people, and they happen to be Democrats,
right. Speaking of
that don't know anything about crime prevention.
Mr. President, speaking of Minneapolis, what did you learn?
I learned that maybe we can use a little bit of a softer touch, but you still have to be tough. These are criminals. We're dealing with really hard criminals. But look, I've called the people. I've called the governor. I've called the mayor, spoke to them, had great conversations with them. And then I see them ranting and raving out there, literally as though a call wasn't made.
Got it. Okay, so I heard that we need a softer touch. We got all the bad people out. The cities are way better. We fixed Chicago. We fixed Washington, D.C., Minneapolis. We're getting all the murderers. We're going to wait until the state government does what the state government is meant to do, which is release them to us. But they have laws that say they can't do that because they're sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. So they said that they're not going to cooperate. So we're just going to draw down 700 officers. By the way, here's Chicago the other day. It looks fine. Yeah, that's that semi-automatic machine fire, apparently. A bunch of black teenagers running up and shooting at a car. That looks fine. No, they're not very... Their tactics are questionable. Running back into fire doesn't seem smart, but there you go. So that seems good. They're not going to drive a car then and then go shoot at the car again, will they? They wouldn't do that. That doesn't seem like something. Oh, they're going to drive up and shoot. Yeah. Cool. And there's someone just filming it from their dash cam, by the way. That's a trucker. He's like, yeah, I just don't want to get in the crossfire here. That's just what's required of me. Seems like Chicago's fine. I think everything's probably okay. There's no crime in any cities anymore, so that's good. I'm not trying to be sarcastic, but it's like, are we going to do mass deportations? That was the priority number 2. Should I show it to you? I'll show it to you. It was priority number 2 on not Kyle Seraphin's agenda. This is agenda 47. So are we going to do that, or mass, the largest deportation operation, or are we just done with that?
I have a question about immigration still looking forward now. Your goal during the election was to deport everyone who came here illegally under President Biden. Is your mission now to deport everyone who came in illegally, or just people who have come in illegally who have also committed additional crimes?
We are totally focused on criminals, really bad criminals. Now, you could say people that came in illegally are criminals, but I'm talking about murderers from different countries. We have 11,888 murderers that Biden and his group led into our country. We've captured a lot of them. We've brought some of them back. A lot of them we don't want to bring back because we don't trust the country that they're not sent back again.
Yeah.
Despite how strong the borders are, they'll figure a way to try and get in, and we don't want to, and we'll incarcerate them. But 11,888 murders.
Yeah.
We are after those people. We're after the drug dealers.
Right.
We are after, by the way, a big problem. They allowed to come into our country people from their mental institutions, people from insane asylums that are mentally ill and very dangerous. We're getting them out.
All right, so we're going to get the murderers, the 11,000, we got 11,000 people out, and we're going to get some of the other people that are maybe mentally ill. Somehow we'll adjudicate that, and so we're going to go targeted. That's a targeted operation. That's a softer touch, not my words, his words. Tom Homan. We're going to take away 700 people because we've had unprecedented cooperation that we haven't actually gotten yet, but we will get cooperation. And the reason we know that is because they said nice things to Donald Trump on the phone, and that's the coin of the realm. The coin of the realm is knob slobbery, from what I can tell. I'm just looking at it from the outside. I don't have any more inside information than you guys on this thing. I just noticed that people who talk nice to Trump, they get what they need, which is cooperation. Whether or not they follow through on the nice thing is irrelevant. You say nice things, you get to be the FBI director, you get to stick around. You say nice things, you get to be the DHS director, you get to stick around. You say nice things, even though you're basically useless as far as all the people that voted for the guy. You say nice things, then you get to stick around and be the attorney general, even though people have been clamoring for her to leave immediately. In fact, when she was named, who did we want? I wanted Matt Gaetz. I just thought that would be just like throwing a grenade into the room and see what happens. It's a room full of propane canisters, and you're going to toss in some sort of incendiary device. That sounds fun to me. I just want to see what happens when someone goes in and wants to break stuff, because that place needed to be broken. What did we talk about earlier this week? Exile or execution. Those are the only ways. Put someone in that makes people run for the freaking hills and grab their balls on the way, or not, and leave them behind. I don't care. That would have been the right answer. Instead, we got Bondi. She seems awesome. She hasn't lied to everybody at every turn, has she? But she speaks nice to Donald Trump, and that is, in fact, the coin of the realm. That is what keeps you in your spot. That does shield you from Donald Trump's wrath. As long as you say nice things. You know what I never hear Tom Massey or Rand Paul just like go out of their way to do knob slobbery. So that's probably their big problem. That's probably why we can't get anything done, right? That's their fault. Guys, if you're watching, give me a like on Rumble, give us a like on YouTube, subscribe to the channels. We'd really appreciate that. Follow us over on Spotify. It's KyleSeraphinShow.com. I won't even put it on there. It's easy enough to remember. You may hear a Spotify ad right now. That's an easy way to do that. Let's do that. Let's do, what does it look like if you don't do it right? Sorry. Let's do it. What happens if you say it nicely? And then we'll do the alternative. If you want to say things that are like true but inconvenient, like, hey, we really agreed with your Agenda 47. We'd like to get that done. That's not acceptable. You can't bring up old promises. That's some old stuff. Let's talk about what happens if you just are friendly on the phone. How many times have I said that I think Donald Trump is a 90s Democrat? If this doesn't solidify it for you, there's no hope.
ABC News broke the story today. I don't know if you saw it, that the Democrats are already saying, if you bring President Bill Clinton and he has to testify, we're bringing President Trump. What do you say to that?
I think they might say that, but they've already brought me. See, I've been brought. They had me indicted many times. Many times.
And the president had some surprising thoughts about former President Bill Clinton.
It bothers me that somebody's going after Bill Clinton. See, I like Bill Clinton. I still like Bill Clinton.
What do you like about him?
I liked his behavior toward me. I thought he got me. He understood me. You know, he was the one that said very famously that you don't want to run against Trump when there were 18 people. It was 18 people, including me, total. And he kept telling them, you don't want to run against Trump. Run against anyone. Don't run against Trump. And Hillary sort of laughed at him.
Yeah. I mean, if you think that Trump is formidable and you say Trump is formidable and you can't run against Donald Trump, kind of like that. I like that he says nice things about me. I mean, we all like it when people say nice things about us. Don't you have like a little bit of curiosity about what that might be about? Or that's it. If they're nice to you, then you're good to go. I don't like that they're going after Bill Clinton, a guy that I'm pretty confident he was out there talking about. If not him, then his surrogates were. I know his son and the vice president and other people were talking about the so-called Epstein list and the fact that Bill Clinton was going to the island. I'm pretty confident I could probably go find some Donald Trump clips talking about how I didn't go to the island, Bill Clinton went to the island. They just think you have the memory of a goldfish. I keep posting this, but it's so obvious to me that everybody that is trying to sell you a narrative acts like you didn't have a life before they said something out loud. They want to act like you just booted up, you have a fresh hard drive, you are recently online, and now we are going to give you this slop. And will you consume it? Bill Clinton was nice to me. Okay. Here's what we need to know from ABC about the fight, the congressional fight over ICE restrictions, which is what this is about, and whether or not we're actually going to get the thing that we're supposed to get. And the thing we're supposed to get, I thought we were going to get secured elections, a border, mass deportations, all the things that would sort of like, that would galvanize this country against movement aggressively one way or another in ways that are not appropriate. Nah, that's not what we're doing. Partial government shutdown came to an end. On the other end, there may be another horizon where we can't hammer out a deal on the potential restrictions on immigration enforcement tactics. There's already been an issuing of some findings by some federal judges saying that they can't use things like chemical munitions. I guess they want everyone to get beaten with batons. I don't know which one of those is better. Honestly, I don't actually know which one is better. Baton, chemical munitions. One of them is a lot better for denying areas. The other one is like kinetic. It'll really make you think about your life choices. So maybe that's what they want. A day after House Majority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and the overwhelming majority in his caucus voted against the funding deal. And again, Tom Massey did as well. Why? Oh, because there's things in the funding deal that are atrocious. We talked about them yesterday. There's like $3.8 billion for Israel and $5 billion for funding daycares at the state level that the state can give out, but the federal government collects the taxes and then gives them to. We started with the Constitution, didn't we? We started that there's something in the 10th Amendment that says that there, like, what power requires that the federal government look after daycare centers and give money to it? And by the way, take your money to do it, because that's the only way they operate. I have no idea. It's almost like there's a power that exists over in Congress that they don't use, that they say it's complete bullshit. How many times will you hear them say it? Tell me there's a difference between any of these people saying the same thing over and over again. Let me know when you hear them wield it. Check this out.
The power of the purse, and we will use it.
Use the power of the purse to stop funding it. Because you know what? If you fund it, you own it.
That's why we have to look at the power of the purse. We have to look at the appropriations process.
One is oversight, and that's a job that we have, and also, of course, the use of the power of the purse.
Let me be very clear. We will use the power of the purse and the power of the subpoena to get the job done.
Everybody cheers.
We're going to use all of our congressional leverage as a majority party by controlling which referred to commonly as the power of the purse.
Say it.
That body, which stands for election every 2 years, to be the body closest to the people, deciding how we spend the money. So we have to exercise our authority, the power of the purse, to limit what the federal government, what the FBI and the Justice Department are doing to the American people.
And that we use the power of the purse that was given to us to do our job.
Congress has a responsibility. We have the power of the purse.
This is not using the power of the purse. This is abdicating the power of the purse.
Well, that's true.
Why do you think that is?
Where everyone is on Mike Johnson is it's all about his actions, because he's really good at talking. He's great at talking. He's not good at acting.
The power of the purse, and we will use it. And we will use it.
We should recognize the power of the purse. They, in a word, hold the purse. This power of the purse may in fact be regarded as, and this is the most important part, we control the power of the purse.
The fact that the Congress, controlled by Republicans, that controls the purse strings, continues to fully fund the FBI. There's a plan to build them a new headquarters. And they, again, you talk about a two-way street. There's one set of rules for Republicans. There's a different set of rules for Democrats, and Republicans continue to fund them. I think a lot of Americans sit back and scratch their head to go, why did I elect you Republicans? What are you guys going to do to contain the FBI?
That was Sean Duffy. He used to be in Congress. Now he's a member of the cabinet, and he's 100% right. What's the difference? You have the power of the purse. You have a different speaker. It used to be Kevin McCarthy, and now it's Smithers, Mike Johnson. And what's the difference? Did they fund all these agencies all the way? Yeah. Do you know who doesn't fund them and looks like they're going to actually get their budget fight and may even win on it? Because they don't want to fund DHS? Democrats, and they're supposedly in the minority. Why is that? Oh, because Republicans pack a bunch of crap in there, so principled Republicans can't go along with it. They go, hey, this $5 billion for daycares is not what we are meant to do. Why are we funding agencies that don't need to be funded? Why are we putting money out to Nigeria or to Jordan or to Israel or to Egypt? Why are we spending this when we're running on America first? We literally have it in the name that we're going to take care of this country first, and it's not done yet. It's really simple. I just look at these people at their own words. I don't even have to do complex analysis. I just say, what have you said? Have you done what you said? You have not. So you're a freaking liar. If you dealt with anybody else in your life at any other level, how many of you would go to a big box store? You go to Lowe's and they advertise a sale and you go there and you try to buy it. And they're like, well, that sale's just, that's just what we talk about. We don't actually do that. You'd be like, that's false advertising. Number one, I expect you to honor your promise. And they say, we're not going to do it. And you're like, well, I'm never going to shop here again. And then the next time you drive somewhere, you'll drive to a Home Depot or you'll drive to a McCoy's. Or you'll drive to any other, an Ace. You will go out of your way to not go to that place that lied to you. And yet people keep voting in the incumbents because they sound good and they went on Fox News and the narrative victory is a win. In the same way the left has messaged that ICE is too hard and it's too mean and it's doing all the bad things. And people bought it, including independents. Not this guy. I'm like, do more of it. You're not doing enough. I can tell you're not doing enough. The reason I know is because the people that are working in the federal government that are doing this work are getting like dozens and not tens of thousands. That's it. I'm not even trying to be a jerk about it. I'm just saying I evaluated on your own words and you were found to be lacking. Maybe we are lacking because the people that represent us are also lactating. I'm going to say that one more time because I saw this video yesterday and I was like, how freaking unserious of a nation and how tacky is Florida right now? You have a woman who worked as a cocktail waitress in a strip club that totally wasn't a stripper. We covered her dim-witted stuff yesterday, talking like the Miss South Carolina in the 1990s. And then you got this character who's got a machine pump in the background that is pumping milk for her baby because she's a lactating nursing mother and she doesn't have the sense to not be in office while she's taking care of a nursing baby. I got a text message yesterday. I should pull it out of my phone's in the Faraday bag. I should pull it out because it was some woman running for office that said, I'm a true conservative running to be your mayor of Leander, Texas. And I responded, what is conservative about women in politics? I'm just asking, what are you conserving? Because that's a relatively new thing. So if you want to tell me that you're conservative, can you define the word conservative for me? Just tell you this ain't it.
And today the House will end the government shutdown by passing the Senate appropriations package without the SAVE Act attached. Instead, we're getting a pinky promise from the Senate that they are going to reform the filibuster from a zombie filibuster to a talking filibuster. First, that sound you're hearing, yes, I am pumping because I am a multitasking mama with a 5-month-old and I got to feed the baby. But I wanted to jump on here.
I can't listen to anything else you have to say. I honestly can't. There's 2 more minutes of that video, and that was it. You're a multitasking mama. I had people that respond in comments because we posted this over on social media as well. I mean, she posted this on social media. I just responded to it. And yeah, this is Kat Kamek, or whatever her name is, Cammack. I'm blown away. You're a multitasking mama. Do you know how many people responded and said, hey, by the way, mom brain is a real thing, that when you're nursing and you're lactating and you're dealing with a crying baby, and that's the most important thing in your life, which it should be. And it's far more important than whatever you could do. There's somebody else that could represent the people in Florida in the 3rd district. There's like literally anybody else would be a better choice than that. You want to know why we're not doing the things that are tough? Because you have people that are honoring leftist bullshit. Like, you can be a mom and you can have it all. And you could be a nursing mom and also be a freaking representative in Congress. What an unserious, stupid country we are to have that. They're not taking care of the power of the purse because they're actually they're nursing moms. She also brought her baby out on the floor as like some kind of a publicity stunt. That grosses me out on every level. It's so gross. We're talking about whether or not we're going to fund an agency that is required to enforce the laws that are passed by the people that are debating whether or not they're going to fund the agency. And I've put on the screen my meme, which I can't delete this thing. ICE enforces laws passed by Congress. If you want to change the law, knock yourself out. We know they can't do that. They can't use the power of the purse. They can't actually change any laws. They're so damn busy doing what? Campaigns and milking themselves. It's so goofy. What a seriously unserious time we live in right now. This is a great example of the propaganda that's going from the other side, because I do like to do media analysis on both sides. And I don't just hate one side. I hate all of them. This one made me crack up, and I think you guys will laugh too. This is an opinion piece that was prominent on MS Now, formerly MSNBC. And the title of this article is, I'm a doctor. ICE agents at hospitals make our jobs a lot harder. Now, that may be true, but I immediately was like, well, you're a doctor. What kind of a doctor are you? In the same way I asked, what kind of a gun owner are you yesterday? I want to know, because I've known some doctors in my time. You probably have some friends who are doctors, right? Okay, this is Dr. Uche Blackstock. And it doesn't matter what she says. I'm just going to be very candid with you. It doesn't matter what she says. There's the doctor. She's kind of pretty. I wanted to know what other things Dr. Uche Blackstock was known for. Blackstock, sorry. She's an MD, and she's the founder and CEO of Advancing Health Equity. Oh, she's the best-selling author of a book called Legacy. A Black physician reckons with racism in medicine. She's a former MSNBC contributor and an NBC News medical contributor. This is the bio that they give her. And she's written such articles as, I'm a doctor. The consequences of ICE presence in hospitals could be deadly. I'm an ER doctor. I know what the end of the ACA subsidies will mean. She's also 11 months ago wrote, when COVID hit Black Americans too hard, too many white Americans shrugged. So she's a serious doctor that's interested in doctoring. That was my experience from it. And here's some lovely pictures of her. I'm just so interested in who writes what. Does anybody go out there and check out like, hey, who is this person? Is she credible? Does she come from like a really aggressive perspective that has nothing to do with reality and all about pushing some narrative? Yeah. Nice pictures. This is interesting. I don't know what's going on. Oh, you guys can't see this. I don't know what's going on down here, but she's standing with a woman with a shaved head, like way closer than is comfortable. Anyway, she's a doctor with a perspective. And that's where the narrative goes. You have hard leftism, and you got 90s Democrats, aka Republicans. So everybody seems like they're on the same team. So who's looking out for what I wanted? Who's looking out for what I expected? Because I foolishly read Agenda 47 and I thought, yeah, that's pretty good. We should do those things. we should defend the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the fundamental freedoms. We should keep the freedom of speech and not have Pam Bondi go out there and say that hate speech is not protected by the First Amendment. I'm pretty confident I can read that First Amendment, as can you. And we can find it right there where it says, Congress shall make no law. And then right then, everything after it that they make a law about shouldn't exist. At least we're not going to get like a new ATF guy that's going to do some things that are problematic, right? Like we're not going to bring in an ATF director under this president that's going to make the ATF like way bigger. I don't think we would do that. That seems like something we wouldn't do. Here's Adam Schiff talking to the Trump nominee for ATF director, and he's definitely not saying they're going to grow an agency that is totally unconstitutional, right?
Mr. Cicada, thank you for taking the time to sit down with me yesterday. I just want to follow up on Senator Booker's question. You mentioned that at any one time, 100 agents could be essentially reassigned to work on immigration cases. That's 100 agents out of how many overall?
Good morning, Senator. That's 100 agents out of the total agent cadre, which is about 2,400 agents.
And I think when we got together, you mentioned that you still have to do some considerable hiring to get up to the capacity you need.
Yes, sir. The administration has directed us to increase our special agent numbers up, actual special agents up to 3,000 agents, which would bring us additional 800 or so agents to get to that number.
And what is the need for the additional 800 agents?
Completely stay focused on violent crime throughout the United States and our cities most impacted by violent crime.
The ATF is a tax organization. They used to work under Treasury. They got kicked out of Treasury because they didn't have a mission set and they didn't understand why they were a law enforcement agency that did some sort of like half-ass version of a tax administration. So they were getting kicked out. They got picked up by DOJ and they almost disappeared. They were almost gone. There was going to be no ATF under Janet Reno. That was the proposal. And what did they do? They decided to do the smartest thing possible, which was go in and run Ruby Ridge and the Branch Davidian compound and a bunch of other high profile operations, which we all sort of like reference now as government overreach. And the result of that was it saved their flippin' agency, and it still exists right now so that it can infringe on your constitutional liberties. The Trump administration said that they were going to protect the Second Amendment explicitly in their Agenda 47. It was item number 7 of 20. And they've nominated this guy who can't give a straight answer to the former AG of Missouri. Here's Eric Schmidt talking about, will you roll back the stupidity that the Biden administration did? They came after gun owners as possible firearms dealers by redefining what the words meant, which is the problem that Congress created. This is the Administrative Procedures Act in action. What happened is in 1946, the Congress decided that being in the Congress is too hard to do Congress work. They'd much rather do hearings. They'd much rather do all kinds of televised stuff. They'd much rather do fundraising. They'd much rather talk instead of do. They don't want to actually do the work of this is what the money is for. This is the explicit priorities of this particular agencies. They gave broad mandates and they said, you figure it out. And the executive said, yeah, gladly. We'll take up that burden. We will now also write our own rules, which have force of law under the APA. 1946 is how far back we have to go to see that. Again, other than Chuck Grassley, who saw them plant the grass on the National Mall, like very few people saw this ever happening. Eric Schmidt asking questions. Can you fix the problems that happened under the last administration? And what did he say? I'm going to leave this clip because it's long. It's almost 3 minutes. The end of it is the word potentially. You guys tell me if this makes you feel good about who they picked.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Cicada, I want to ask you, well, during the Biden administration first, the ATF issued several administrative rules that violated statutory authorities that were enacted by Congress. In a previous life, when I was Attorney General of Missouri, helped lead one of the lawsuits against one of those rules, the frame a receiver rule. Eventually, a different lawsuit came up against the rule, and the Supreme Court sort of sidestepped the ultimate issue on that. But there are similar rules, such as the stabilizing brace rule and the engaged in business rule, that threaten to make responsible, law-abiding Americans into criminals and left gun owners with vague, difficult-to-follow mandates. Americans who want to exercise their Second Amendment rights and follow the law in good faith lacked any real guidance and felt like the ATF was trying to trap and punish them. The Second Amendment is a fundamental and inalienable right, So it's especially concerning when administrative state agencies like ATF infringe not only on the Second Amendment, but also the Constitution's structural separation of powers by issuing rules that are equal parts illegal and impossible to comply with. I understand you want the ATF to return to a true law enforcement mission rather than harassing law-abiding gun owners. So I want to ask you today if you'll commit to repealing or otherwise fixing this nightmare scenario for gun owners by revisiting the frame and receiver rule, the stabilizing brace rule, and the engaged in business rule, and any other overreaching administrative rules in a timely manner.
Good morning, Senator. Thank you again for your question. I can assure you that ATF, under my direction, is following President Trump's Second Amendment executive order. We are currently undergoing a thorough review of all regulations. I can't speak to the specific regulations because of the guidance under APA. In the future, when the President and the Department of Justice team that our work is ready to be put out for a notice of proposed rulemaking, there will be a draft of all those rules for everyone to review. And we fully encourage everyone to please review those, ask your constituents to do the same to make sure that ATF thoroughly took those concerns into.
So if I hear you right, if you're reviewing all of the rules, the three that I mentioned would be included in that, correct?
Potentially.
What's that?
Potentially, sir. I can't.
Let's lock that in. Let's lock that in.
I can't do that, sir. But I would be glad to tell you.
Okay. I think that follow up on.
Potentially, we could do the thing that you're asking. Can you lock that in for me? Can you go ahead and answer that and just say that we're going to do it? No, I can't do that. Not at all. But this agency totally serves us. I'm sure of it. Some of you guys are asking, like, what's the purpose? When I tell you this is the quick AI version of it, obviously. There's an entire timeline that the ATF gives. It was created to enforce federal tax laws. The IRS goes after revenue being like your revenue, your incoming income. So they handle taxes and revenue that comes in via that route under Treasury. The ATF was meant to go after tax laws on alcohol and tobacco. It is a remnant and is a legacy of prohibition in many ways. That's what it was supposed to do. And then they just created a law enforcement mission because that's way easier. It's the same way the FBI is meant to do things called healthcare fraud. My former agency, they're meant to do healthcare fraud, which means they're supposed to find people that are defrauding the government on paper with white collar stuff. What do they do instead? They just run pill mill cases. They find out people that are doing drugs and then, physicians that are prescribing opiates. Because that's way more interesting. I mean, it's boring to do healthcare fraud. Like, nobody wants to do healthcare fraud. Nobody wants to be the people that just like check in and make sure that taxes are paid. It'd be way more fun to kick down doors and shoot up a religious community, which may have had pedophiles in it, by the way, as far as we can tell. David Koresh wasn't a good dude. They'd rather go after former Green Berets out in the mountains bothering nobody because a shotgun is slightly too short, so they heard. And then go kill a dog and a son and a wife. That'd be better, right? Wouldn't that be better? That guy can't commit to fixing things. And what did he cite? I just told you it. The APA. He said, because of the APA, I can't tell you the answer that we're going to do these things. The Administrative Procedures Act. Is Congress serious about fixing any things? I thought they had the power of the purse. Why are we funding this? Why are we trying to add another 800 agents under the Trump administration? Their words, not mine. And then lastly, at least they're not going to infringe on the Second Amendment, right? This is a big deal to me. It's priority number 7 for Trump's agenda. They're not going to do that, I think.
In turn, we will make sure that during the next several years, we follow President Trump's Second Amendment executive order to review all ATF policies, procedures, and regulations to ensure that none of those infringe upon the Second Amendment unnecessarily.
We're not going to infringe on a thing that we're not allowed to infringe on unnecessarily. But if we necessarily need to infringe on it, that's the converse of what that said. If we necessarily have to do it, then we're going to do it. Kind of the same thing we heard from Jeanine Pirro. Kind of the same thing we heard from Kash Patel. Kind of the same thing that we've heard from Pam Bondi. It's almost like the entire administration has like a really weird 90s Democrat, progressive liberal type sensibility about guns. They put something on the agenda that sounded good. They got a former Marine to be the VP. Where is JD, the guy that I saw sitting holding an AR-15 outside of his cabin or something, pointing it at the sky? Where's that guy who theoretically understands guns? But America's back. There's a great picture of it from Trump right here. Again, it doesn't mean the other side understands anything. But the people that we put in there that said certain words, they can't even be held to their own words. And to me, that's really troubling because that's a fundamental freedom. Let's jump into this one. This is about Epstein. It continues on. This is the ongoing saga of things that will not go away. The Justice Department under scrutiny for revealing victim info and concealing possible enablers in the Epstein files. They just cannot get away from this bad PR nightmare. And a lot of it's because there was a lot of talk beforehand. About this place. Yesterday or the day before, we mentioned a guy named Brad Karp. So I wanted to show you guys this. This is an NBC story. He was in charge. He was the chairman of a very powerful law firm known as Paul Weiss. And apparently he quit, walked away. There's no clients, guys. There's no clients of Epstein, but like there were some things that were pretty kind of unsavory that people said. And so there's a little bit of fallout publicly, but there's no prosecutions. These people are safe. It's just they're going to be embarrassed a little bit. Brad Karp was the chairman of the law firm Paul Weiss, Rifkind, Wharton, and Garrison. And he resigned yesterday after the most recent batch of Epstein files, which we're told were going to be the end. That's the end of it. That's what Patel said. Were released by the Justice Department, including correspondence between him and Jeffrey Epstein. Recent reporting has created a distraction. That's what it did. And it placed focus on me that is not in the best interest of the firm, he said in a statement released. His resignation is effective immediately. The firm is commonly known in corporate circles as Paul Weiss. It's one of the most prestigious and high-powered law firms in the country. Weird. Weren't we told that Jeffrey Epstein was involved with super powerful people all around the globe? And so then that's when he had blackmail stuff on them, and that's how he got what he needed. Okay, anyway. So Karp had chaired the firm since 2008. He's been there for a very long time. He spent his entire 40-year career working for them. They said that he will continue to focus full-time on client services at the firm, but he will not be leaving the firm entirely. He's just not going to be the chairman. He won't be in charge anymore. So what was it that was going on? Documents released Friday, posted to the Justice Department's website, show dozens of email exchanges between Karp and Epstein, or Epstein and Karp's assistant, spanning multiple years, including 2015 to 2019. The emails were about a variety of topics. Again, the arrest in 2019 was why they would be the 2015 to 19 thing. Some of the emails show that Karp planned to take meetings with Epstein at his infamous New York City townhouse. The documents showed him helping Epstein with his plea deal on sex trafficking charges, said the draft motion is in great shape when they shared emails back and forth in March of 2019. Another exchange in 2015 said he put in writing, "You're amazing," and describes an evening I'll never forget. It was truly once in a lifetime in every way, Karp wrote. You're an extraordinary host. We don't know what that means or what that was about. But again, when you start dealing with the type of unsavory people that were talked about, we only have our imaginations. But those are not facts, as we are reminded by some people who make sure that you get it right. Like, you can't just say whatever you want about Jeffrey Epstein. You can't just have your own thoughts. There's an approved version of it. So I hope you guys will please have it. Here's what the approved narrative sound like.
A lot of people are looking for the connection between the Jeffrey Epstein story, the saga, the details that are now coming out, and what that means about, quote unquote, who runs our world. Now, there are a lot of very powerful people whose names have been mentioned in the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. People who are hanging out, hobnobbing with Jeffrey Epstein. People who are asking dating advice, like Lauren Summers, former president of Harvard. Or people who are apparently soliciting visits to Epstein parties, or whom Epstein was soliciting to go to his parties, including people like Elon Musk. Obviously, Jeffrey Epstein was friendly with Bill Clinton. There was a time early on in his life, earlier, when he was friendly with Donald Trump. All of that is true. Now, the leap that some people are making is that this means that Epstein was manipulating all of these powerful people through blackmail with regard to sex. That is not in evidence. If that turns out to be in evidence, then we will happily report on it. That is not what so far has come out. And the reason I'm making this distinction is because it is, in fact, a deeply important thing that some of the most powerful people in our society act in morally depraved ways, godless, virtue-free ways, hanging out with some of the worst people in our society, people they know to be trafficking in women who are very, very young, if not in minors. When it comes to Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, what was criminally indicted was the trafficking of underage girls for Epstein's own use. There have yet to be legally verifiable allegations that girls who are underage were trafficked to people who are not Jeffrey Epstein, or by Ghislaine Maxwell to people not Jeffrey Epstein.
Right. Okay. I got all that. And then there was like this entire thing that we had. There was an organization, and I feel like I used to work there, and they had cases, and part of the job and part of the transparency that we were told was going to come out on the campaign trail when Donald Trump was out there campaigning and had his son and others out there talking about it. What did they say? They said that they were going to find out who the list of elite pedophiles were, because even though we didn't have legally verifiable allegations, there was all this smoke. So everyone wanted to know what the fire was underneath it. Right? You're not allowed to talk about that anymore. How do I know? Because everyone told you can't talk about it. Here's Owen Schroyer's montage. It's really good.
The evidence suggested there really was not an Epstein list if you were watching this case with any sort of eagle eye.
We can't waste our time on Epstein and other stuff that are going on here that some people want us to focus on. I'm about had it with all that stuff.
He killed himself. You want me to get? I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
You were convinced that Epstein killed himself in jail. Today, 8 months after that, are you still convinced?
Yes.
100%?
Yes, sir.
There has been no evidence of that. I'm looking through all of the documents, and so far there is still no evidence. I'm open to it. If you listen to me, I just feel like it's like the obsession. I mean, bringing the Clintons in, it's ridiculous.
Well, it is ridiculous.
And no, he made a statement about me and Jeffrey Epstein. I have nothing to do with that.
No, apparently Jeffrey wrote an email to himself.
Yeah, no, he wrote an email to himself. He wrote an email to himself, but he didn't actually send it. And so that email that he wrote to himself that's what said all these things that were not real. I like Owen's face on the screen here right now. Interesting. Most of those commentators in news are either Jewish people or people that have sworn allegiance to Israel in like really bizarre and public ways, to include Kash Patel. I don't get it. I'm not a Israel did everything kind of thing, but it does seem like real specific. And I just read or listened to Matt Walsh's statement about it, talking about how frequently and how specific Jeffrey Epstein's worldview was crafted around his identity as being a Jewish person. Maybe that means something. Maybe it doesn't mean something. Maybe it means that like we were promised something and we just didn't get it. And like for those of you that didn't ever see this, there's 11 minutes of this, and it only goes back for the first 6 months of the Trump administration, but all of it is freaking damning. Because all I'm saying is, just like the members of Congress who were going to use the power of the purse, and just like Donald Trump who told us we were going to get mass deportations, there were promises that were made, there were statements that were shared, and then I can look at your own words and say, you are a liar. So why would I trust you again? Why would we listen to you? Why would we care what happens during the midterms? It's like, what's the difference? Sean Duffy said that. What's the difference when you put people in that are supposedly going to do your agenda? I don't get it. Before we do that little clip, let me just remind you guys, you can support the program free. You just give us a thumbs up. We'd appreciate that. Subscribe wherever you're listening. Rumble, YouTube, X, Locals. Thanks for all the people that do that stuff every day. You guys are a blessing making sure this. We'll get a little ad from Spotify if you're listening on the audio right now. And you can follow on Spotify if you can't see this. And these videos, maybe they're not worth seeing. Some of them actually are definitely worth seeing because facial expressions can be priceless. You can find them, KyleSeraphinShow.com, over on Spotify. Let's dive right into this little super clip montage that we put out not too long ago.
DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients? Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that.
Flashback. Who has Jeffrey Epstein's
Black Book?
Black Book?
FBI. That's under direct control of the director of the FBI.
The Senate has confirmed Kash Patel as the new director of the FBI. He was another controversial choice.
That's why you don't have a Black Book.
That Jeffrey Epstein story is a big deal. Please do not let that story go. Keep your eye on this. I'm just going to throw this out there, Armacost. You think that would be valuable to an intelligence apparatus to have blackmail material on people on video doing things with young women they shouldn't be doing in case you need a, let's say, favor later? Hey, it'd be a real shame if this got out, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Dan, I think that'd be very helpful. Yes.
I think, yeah, maybe. We need to keep the heat on this case, folks. There are a lot of people who are knee deep in the Washington swamp who are not telling you the truth about serious allegations out there that Epstein may have had video and audio of people out there doing things they shouldn't have been doing. And you should be asking yourself the question, how is it that all these people, the CIA director, the Obama fixer, Bill Clinton, all intersected paths with Jeffrey Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein isn't with us anymore, and nobody seems to want to talk about it.
Newly sworn-in FBI Director Kash Patel named popular podcaster Dan Bongino as the deputy director of the agency.
The Black Book is not just sitting. I mean, that's Hoover power times 10.
And to me, that's a thing I think President Trump should run on. On day one, roll out the Black Book. And not just that. On day one, roll out all of the text messaging communications we were told were deleted. They overclassify 50% of the stuff there to protect the deep state. Oh, no, you can't see that. Nothing to see here.
You know, Epstein's an intelligence asset for people in the Middle East, right? I'm like, no, I didn't know that. I'm like, you sure of that? The person, let's say, is like, I'm absolutely sure of that. That he's either a witting or unwitting asset, intelligence asset.
I want to talk to you about the Epstein case. I have worked on this for years, trying to get those records of who flew on Epstein's plane and who helped him build this international human trafficking, sex trafficking ring. Now, earlier, I urged then Chairman Durbin to subpoena those records, and I ended up being blocked by Senator Durbin and Christopher Wray. They stonewalled on this, and I know that breaking up these trafficking rings is important to President Trump. So will you work with me on this issue so we know who worked with Jeffrey Epstein in building these sex trafficking rings?
Absolutely, Senator. Child sex trafficking has no place in the United States of America, and I will do everything, if confirmed as FBI director, to make sure the American public knows the full weight of what happened in the past.
Evidence from Jeffrey Epstein's safe went missing after an FBI raid, court hears in Ghislaine Maxwell trial. How the hell do you lose evidence in a case this big? Is it lost? Was it lost, if you get what I mean? I don't know.
You know, it's the same thing with Epstein's list. It's like, what the hell are these Republicans doing?
Regardless of who may be embarrassed in the release of that list, why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list.
And the FBI handed over a couple hundred pages of documents. But, you know, Sean, I gave them a deadline of Friday at 8 a.m. to get us everything. And a source had told me where the documents were being kept. Southern District of New York, shock. So we got them all by, hopefully all of them, Friday at 8 a.m. Thousands of pages of documents. I have the FBI going through them. And Kash is also, now that we have Kash here, it's a game changer, of course.
It's a freaking game changer now that we have Kash, right? It's on. That was just like the beginning of last year. That wasn't even a year ago. And there's more of that. That goes on for, I could watch that forever because it's crazy when you start stringing the statements these people made together. How about Dan Bongino, who's gone back to podcasting? There's an MS Now piece right now. I'll just show you real quickly where this is coming from because it's I don't know. It's worth popping on the screen. So the headline is Dan Bongino's happy to be back where you can serve Trump best podcasting. I think that's probably true. We'll keep him on the screen here for a second. Didn't you hear some things that were said? Like, one, he was an intelligence asset that he knew. Apparently he had sourcing on that, right? He wasn't just talking out of turn. He was a guy that used to be a federal agent. He used to work at the Secret Service. He had access to sourcing. The longer you spend in this game, you lose some sources in your old agency. You meet some sources in some other agencies. So I imagine that he knew some people that were talking to him about it. Who are these people? Apparently in a Fox green room. Did they run those charges down? Did they demonstrate any of this stuff? We were told we couldn't talk about it because of national security. That's Mike Johnson saying that, Smithers. So what happened? He also was complaining about evidence lost by the FBI. Was it lost? Right? I heard that. You heard that. Not my words. Somebody used to be in charge of the FBI. The guy that's currently still there, he's out running around looking for some 84-year-old woman who may or may not have been kidnapped in Arizona, pretending that he's part of an investigation when he's really the FBI director, and he just wants to put on a cool jacket and a SWAT patch. That's Kash Patel. He's still there. What about the guy that's out there now? Did he find out anything about what happened to that evidence? Where did it go? Why is he out talking about tentacle porn and fighting invisible enemies on his podcast right now, instead of coming clean with people and saying, look, here's what we know. Here's the story. It's all apparently been released. Pam Bondi, she said there were thousands of pages. They've literally released millions of pages, many of which are redacted. How far off in scope was Pam Bondi? How little did she know about what the hell she was talking about and why? It's almost like they don't know what the hell they're talking about when they're out there. And that would go to my supposition that none of these people run the agencies they're at, and they never have. The agencies are not run from the top down or the bottom up. They're run from the middle out. The middle runs the top and the bottom, and they screw both sides. So that's what I've been trying to explain to people. Exile or execution. There's really not any other way to go about it. And the way you would do that is you would simply look at the oath. Are you defending the Constitution? Do you understand the Bill of Rights? Are you going ahead and enforcing the rules and policies that you have in order to secure fundamental freedoms that you are not allowed to infringe on, including freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and the right to keep and bear arms? That would be an easy start. And it turns out Donald Trump actually made that promise. I can keep returning to these people's words because it's so easy. They said them, not me. I hold them to account because I give people agency. I suggest that if you are a human being and you have free will and a God-given intellect of whatever capability it is, and you commit to something, then I will just hold you to what you committed to. I don't have to make it up. I don't have to put all my expectations on you. I don't have to have hopes and fears and dreams about what those things may be. I simply look and say, I will evaluate you based on your own criteria. You gave me the rubric by which to assess whether or not what you did was necessary. And apparently you were not fighting when you had the job. You're only fighting when you're talking shit online. And for some reason, this Bongino new podcast spends an inordinate amount of time talking about something that he keeps calling tentacle porn. And I only know that because I don't watch the show. I don't care. But it keeps popping up in my feed that he's fighting a mythical enemy who has a fat ass, whoever this person is, and he owns them, and he does so, and that person spends their time watching tentacle porn. I don't even know what tentacle porn is. It's very interesting to Bongino, apparently. I think I have a clip from it, so stand by. It's weird enough that it's worth playing. Yeah, I think we've got that. Kind of like an ugly statement saying that he owns you. Who is the audience for that type of messaging? You had an opportunity, you talked a bunch of shit, we all heard it, and now your talk is you're going to go after your detractors in the media who are writing pieces on MS Now, and they're fat asses, and you own them.
The buck stops on that Resolute desk. They are tough decisions, and that's what happened.
To be fair, I think he just said that we can say that Donald Trump is responsible for what happens under his administration at the Resolute desk. And all I'm trying to do is do that.
I know a lot of you are looking. And by the way, to the people in the chat, I just want you to know a little message to you. Some of them, the supporters, we love you guys, the detractors. You're welcome here too. But I just want you to know something. I own you guys. You can't stay away. I tweet, you instantly respond. I do a show, you can't stay away. Remember, Jim, no one's going to be there. Really? It's 194,000 no ones. Biggest live stream in the world right now.
Mm-hmm.
No one's going to be there. No one. Really? Then when people show up, it's just us there to repeat. Great. I own you guys. The greatest superpower in the world is the power to command attention. And I own yours. You can't stay away. But to my supporters and people who love the show, thank you. It's an honor. I say with humility, it's really an honor to call you all friends.
That is not what humility looks like, buddy. That's a cocky asshole moment that you are having right now. Weird. What a weird lack of humility to fail so dramatically after all the things that were said. Our chat is saying that it looks like WWE. Yeah, right up with the face makeup and the Botox or whatever the hell's going on. Do you know who used to whisper creepy, weird shit to us? Joe Biden. That's who did that. That's the only person I remember in recent memory who had a strange disconnect with reality. And the disconnect was, I whisper things because it makes me sound like I am more serious. I don't know if it's age or alcoholism or if it's simply that something has gone to your head and you no longer recognize the reality because you have too much money and you can't see things as they are. But whispering to your audience is freaking weird. So yeah. So anyway, but that's the good news is that apparently per MSNBC/MS Now, that's where Dan Bongino is best serving Donald Trump. not solving the problems, not making America constitutional again, and not defending the Second Amendment and making sure we didn't have any of the garbage go on. They didn't get rid of any of the people. They kept promoting the same people. And a guy who was involved in, who had to be the final approver on surveillance of a Catholic school teacher who was married to a federal agent, that woman got terrorist watch listed, and he's now the number 2 in the FBI. That's it. That's all I have to say about that. Quick little thing, which I failed to give you guys earlier, but I meant to. I feel bad that I did not. The question of a doctor, here, let me put it back on the screen. If a doctor who is pretty and a black woman who wrote books about being a black doctor, and being a black doctor is the relevant part of her experience in life, and her blackness is 100% important, and she also knows things about racism, if that woman is the potential doctor you have, it reminded me immediately of this Family Guy episode that I can't get away from. And every time I see this stuff and I see what I would say is a diversity type hire anywhere, I'm remembered of this little exchange. And so I'm sharing it with you because our sense of humor is not that far off.
Okay, guys, I got one. Would you rather get a massage from a man or surgery from a female doctor? Wow.
Like minor surgery?
No, serious surgery, like a blown kidney or something.
Jeez.
Good question, Peter.
Is the man gay?
Nope.
Is the female doctor at least Jewish or Asian?
No, but actually, you know what? I'm going to take it up a notch. Hispanic female doctor or gay male masseuse?
Hispanic from Spain?
No.
So it's basically, would you rather get a massage from a gay man or die?
All right, I got another one. Let Amy Winehouse spit in your mouth or eat a raw slice of Anderson Cooper's ass.
Sign me up for Cooper.
What is wrong with this show? That show is so good. I'm getting the massage. I don't care. It could be worse. It's so funny, so silly. What a strange time we live in right now, guys. Just so we're all on the same page, that's what I think of America. This is the serious conversations we should be having. We're basically having grown-up versions of Would You Rather. Would you rather a president come in and lie to your face and spit in your mouth and tell you that you're useless? Or would you like him to say really nice things and then when you're not looking, kick you down the stairs so that your family is, destitute and your kids have no future and they spent all the money? That's where we're at. We're playing horrible games of Would You Rather. It reminds me when I was in college, I had some friends that were they were like pot smoking goofballs that would sit around and either drink and smoke, and then they would have really strange thoughts. And I remember a guy, I'll refer to him as by Dr. Landers, because that's how we called him. And he was sitting there and he said, would you rather have, I have to remember this exactly. Would you rather have your male genital parts smashed by a dropping anvil? Or would you have your nose surgically removed and your eyebrows surgically removed and placed in circles around where your nostrils would have been? We're living in the America where like pot smoking weirdo ideas are essentially what our political options are. If only there was a cheat code to it, and I'm going to put it on the screen just for the hell of it. There's the cheat code. The cheat code is the U.S. Bill of Rights. There were 10 amendments. You can go back to 1791. It turned out these guys actually had it figured out. They were like, what if there was a solution to keep the federal government, which is terrible, from doing all the awful things that it could do? We'll just make a list of rules and restrictions that it cannot do. Like it can't take guns and it can't put troops in your house and so on. They can't just search your property because they want to know what's going on. They we'll give you we'll acknowledge your fundamental right to being secure in your home, in your house, and your papers, and your effects, and your stuff. And we just won't do all that stuff. And then we have people in 2026 under oath who have already sworn some sort of allegiance to the Constitution and that want a more prestigious position saying, we won't do things that are illegal unnecessarily, but if we're necessarily required to do it, like obviously we'll do that. Way to make me sign with people who think that you guys are going down the route of tyranny. At least we've got protectors of the Republic that are calling it out. So that's a lot of today's show. We'll have something really funny in a moment, just because the voices that you choose to listen to say a lot about who you are. And if you guys tolerate stupidity, then what does that say? Join this program anytime you like. Share it with a friend if you think it's interesting, sensible. If you disagree with it, put it in the comments. I don't mind hearing what you don't like or what you don't agree with. I do think it's funny when you guys want to make excuses for Donald Trump when he can't even make excuses for himself. And the evidence is pretty overwhelming. But combat it with evidence. I'd love to. Give me a like on Rumble. Give us a like on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel over there. Follow us on Spotify. If you're not, if you don't have a backup program for finding us, that's the easiest way to do it. And you get video and you get audio, and I'm appreciative of all of that. Stick around afterwards. You'll get to my buddy Steve Friend's take. He just got out of a minor fender bender, which destroyed the back end of his car. Female driver, no big deal. But I'm just saying, I called it when I saw the wreck. I was like, what sort of lady ran into the back of your car there, Steve Friend, and was following you too closely? It was a lady in a Jeep. Classic. Maybe she was busy nursing or milking or whatever it is. She was pumping instead of just doing a drive. So let's do something funny. These are the voices of sanity. This is the top podcast that Dan Bongino is competing against. So the competition is very stiff. America is an interesting country right now.
There is something so reminiscent, and it's striking to me.
Obviously, that's pretty reminiscent of one of the themes of The Matrix. I think that they can be a better Christian is so reminiscent to me of a discussion I had. Yeah, it's eerily reminiscent of Event 201.
So visually reminiscent of...
And a man, and this is reminiscent to me of when I looked through the Romanian case regarding Andrew Tate. Everything that they have done to Donald Trump actually is reminiscent of a government that has taken too much power for itself. Is reminiscent of a government in which they are going after their enemies.
This is reminiscent of Albert Einstein's famed quote, "Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results."
It's reminiscent of insanity. Yeah, it's so good. There are nonstop clips of this woman not pronunciating. I want to make up my own version of it. Pronunciating. I'm trying to find a funny way to do it. It's reminiscent of her pronunciating. Okay, I'm done. That's too funny for me. Why do people listen to dumb people? Ask yourself that question, and then maybe you have an answer, or maybe you don't. We look forward to seeing you guys again tomorrow. It'll be Friendly Friday. We'll bring someone who doesn't mispronounce words and is hyper articulate in a way that makes me uncomfortable sometimes. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Look forward to seeing you guys again tomorrow. God bless.
Thanks for listening to The Kyle Seraphin Show, streamed live weekdays on rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. Follow Kyle on Twitter, Truth Social, and Instagram @Kyle Seraphin.